Good morning, students. In today's topic, study section 8, we shall be looking at the topic tied to African colonizations and emancipation. If I may ask, I want to believe that majority of the members of this class must have come across the concept of colonizations before this class. So, to start with, we need to provide a brief and succinct definition of colonization. In a simple term, colonizations connotes or can be defined as an extension of rule from another country over a distinct or a separate country or territory, primarily to make use of the people of that country, their land and their resources for the benefit of the colonial power. So what we are saying is colonization is an attempt by country elsewhere, let's say from Europe, as the case may be in a Nigerian perspective, from Britain, extending their rule beyond their own territorial boundary over to Nigeria with an attempt to establish their authority with the sole aim to make use of the people, their land, and the available resources in Nigeria for the economic benefit of the British colonial power. Then we can now talk about emancipation. I just want to give you a brief definition. Emancipation is the process of liberation of the previously colony from their former colonial master. It's an attempt to seek for freedom from elsewhere colonial master. So, and one thing you must have at the back of your mind is that colonialism aims at political and socio-economic changes. Because at the end of the day, you discover that most of what we are practicing now in terms of economic policy, political practices, educational system and all that, they are imported from the former colonial understanding and worldview of things. So one of the fundamental legacy of the colonial rule is to ensure there is a political and socio-economic change in their newfound territory. So we might now want to ask ourselves, why did Europeans come to Africa? What was their motivation for coming to Africa? Although there are different explanations to this regard. From the European perspective, they claim that they came to Africa to civilize us, to liberate us, to educate us. That is to make us to believe that prior to their advent, to their emergence or coming to Africa, it suggests that Africa were not civilized, they were not educated, they were not liberated. And you should know that all these are just mere excuses. There were different documentations or historical facts that even trace the history of civilizations to ancient Egypt, which is part of an African continent. And even apart from Egypt, there were elements or fundamental tenets of civilizations and educations in African culture. So they claim that they come to civilize us. Some part of the excuses was Mary's lecture came to preach against the killing of twins in Africa, because they believe that twins before the advent of colonial rule were seen as a kind of abomination. It's strange. How can a single woman gave birth to two children at the same time? So they said they are there through the help of ministers to preach to Africa to stop the killing of twins. They also claim that they brought education to us. They help us to learn how to read and write. So there are a lot of justification for their coming to Africa. But it has also been argued that the primary motive for European coming to Africa is for economic benefit, to seek new trade, to seek market for their product, to get cheap labor. At the same time, to get cheap raw materials. And you agree with me fundamentally that the primary motive of European coming to Africa is simply for economic benefit, nothing more, nothing less. The issue of introduction of religions, Western educations, and all the likes is just an excuse to drive their interest. You understand? So, and you also agree with me, if it was true that the European came to Africa to civilize us, it has also been documented that even in Europe, they killed twins. There was history that suggested that they killed. If there was even a particular queen, a particular king in Britain, due to his the tyranny tendency, despotism, he was beheaded. Even in France, people are being killed through guillotine. Different kind of barbaric art were also being practiced in Europe. So it is assumed that even without European coming to Africa, Africa will have developed to the stage where the killing of twins will be stopped willingly without external interference or intervention. The issues of human sacrifice will have stopped. You agree with me? Even before the advent of Europeans into African territory, the issue of Abubakars, one of the people that are assigned to die along with the king, the day the king died, whether he is young or old, he must be buried alive with the king, was actually stopped even before the advent of European in Africa due to uprising and protest. So the primary motive for European coming to Africa is simply for economic benefit. So to sum it up, we can say the instruments of colonialism were basically 3 or 4. Religion through missionaries, because it was believed that Africans are not willing to let go of their beliefs and doctrine, and they are also willing to let go of their ancestral land and resources. So the British send the missionaries to come and start preaching religions of Christianity in order to soften their heart. So by the time their heart has been softened, they can start bringing in other policy. The first thing is religion. The second one is education, Western education, making us to believe that whatever has been known by Africans is irrelevant. The Western education, how to read, how to write in Western way, is the key things. Was also a key instrument being used by them. They also make use of middlemen in business dealing, in purchasing of raw material, and paying at a non-commensurate amount for each sum of raw material being shipping away to Europe. So at the beginning, the British started through the secret intelligentsia in form of explorer. How they discover Africa, or how they were able to establish their rules in Africa. It started from secret explorer, the spy. They are the first to create sea route into different African territory. People like Mungo Park, people like Richard Burton, William Bakke, David Livingstone, and Lander Brothers, and so on and so forth. There are many. They are the first set of secret intelligentsia that were sent to discover the territory of Africa. And after which, it followed by the missionaries. After the explorer, then followed by missionary. Because as I said earlier, after the explorer have studied and documented their finding, sending it back to the Britain, that this is what they have found. These people have a rich land and resources, but they are very adamant, they are resistant, they are not willing to let go of their ancestral land and the resources. So from those findings, the British colonial master devised the second phase, which is to send the missionary to come and preach religion, to preach that you need to submit to the authority. Every authority being constituted is ordained by God. That an attempt to resist or to go against the authority is an extent against God. That you must subject yourself to the constituted authority. That no authority is constituted without the God knowing. So that was the first thing, to soften their mind. Then immediately after that, what followed next is the white traders. The traders started coming in to come and buy cheap raw materials. At initial stage, they were getting those things through middlemen. But as a result of their greed, or they are unable to get a fair bargaining, they started bypassing the middlemen, which are majorly Africa, which infuriated and caused uproar among the middlemen. So the next thing is the trader call for military or let me just say a banditry backup, armed bandit, to come and dislodge the middlemen so they can have access to the hinterland where the raw material is being produced. So shortly after that, when the trade has been established on equal terms of trading between the colonial masters and the regional African people, the next stage was to bring in the political administrator. That is an attempt to vividly establish the British political rule in Africa. So, and in this regard, Lord Lugard was sent to Nigeria, not only Nigeria, to some other African country, and he was able to subjugate the resistance from some African warriors and leaders through the British firepower. And along the line, they were able to establish the Northern Protectorate, due to the fact that the way Northern Protectorate is being organized is a centralized system of arrangement whereby all the followers are wholeheartedly subjected to the rules of their kings or their emir. So this kind of arrangement made it easy for British to operate. So at the end of as time goes on, they were able to forcefully amalgamate both Northern and Southern Protectorate in 1914 and to form a political entity called Nigeria. We now talk about the consequence or effect of colonial rules in Africa. And I want you to have this thing at the back of your mind, that the effect of colonial rule in all African countries, they are synonymous. They are almost the same thing. We have both negative consequences or effect and positive consequences or effect of colonialism in Africa. Let's consider first the positive effect of colonialism in Africa. We can talk about the introduction of Western education. The introduction of Western education. And you agree with me that at least this is one of the most beneficial impact of colonialism up to today. We were able to tap into the reasoning and idea of outside world through the Western educations in terms of technology development, science, and other aspects of life. I'm not actually talking about the aspect of reading in English or writing in English, because that could have also been done in our local language, like the China, the most of the Asian tiger they are doing now. So at least through that, Africa were able to externalize, to link up themselves with the outside world beyond the shore of Africa. One of the most beneficial impacts of colonial rule is that the process foster high level of development in terms of, because at initial stage, the rail system, the seaports that were being developed by the British colonial rule, for instance in Africa, in Nigeria, were not primarily designed for the benefit of Africa, but primarily to take the resources and the people of Africa to the metropolitan Europe, either as a slave or for resources for productions, and bringing it back finished good at a exorbitant price into Africa. But as time goes on, when Africa were able to seek emancipation, to dislodge the colonial rule, all this technology eventually were left behind for the benefit of Africa. And through that, replica of this, most of the development are being produced even after the exit of the colonial rule. So there are benefits or beneficial consequences of colonial rule. There are also negative consequences. Destruction of our socio-cultural system. I don't know whether you have actually come across what we call culture shock. You know, unconsciously or consciously, some of us engage in this habit of culture shock that we are talking about, especially when you are talking in your local dialect, whether Igbo or Yoruba. Unconsciously you tend to mix it all with English. Ó ti gbàgbé ni when I was coming, in fact those people fuck up. So you understand that is not compatible. It's creating dysfunction of culture. And beside that, some have argued that even the coming to Africa of British have actually dragged Africa back maybe 1 or 10,000, I don't know, many years backward of development. It has robbed us of development because they claim that if British have not come to Nigeria or Europeans have not come to Africa, probably Africa will have developed at their own pace. Even the issue of technology will have come and designed based on the peculiarity of African continent. You know, for instance, when you look at our political system, most of the things we are practicing, we are using now, is strange. Those things are not designed based on the peculiarity nature of our indigenous system. When you are talking about democracy, it is an external concept. Maybe if Africa were allowed to develop at their own pace, they would have come up with something more suitable to their own environment. The issue of a presidential system of government that we are running in Nigeria, or we say we have 3 hands of government: legislature, judiciary, and executive. Maybe those things are not actually suitable for us. It might even account for most of the problem we are experiencing now in our governance. Similarly, the issue of demarcations of African continent or balkanization of Africa into different countries. For instance, most of the people that were grouped together, they share nothing in common in terms of their mentality, their social cultural background, the world view. Look at Nigerians, for instance. The Fulani Hausas, the Igbo Yoruba, we hardly share anything in common apart from belonging to the same country, which we did not originally willing to be. The Nigeria is an artificial state which was forced on the indigenous people. So a lot of crises emanated. Look at the issue of these people in Kenya, the Somalia. You will find some people that are Somalia in Kenya. Look at Nigeria and Benin Republic. You find some Yoruba people in Nigeria. You find them in Benin Republic. Those things create a lot of crises. In fact, in some cases, it created a lot of internal suspicions and acrimony. So those things are caused, and it's also the incursion of British incursion of European into African continent also created a lot of civil unrest, and it denied Africa the opportunity of oneness to be able to speak as one entity. You agree with me that the country of Africa that were colonized by France, who always and all the time want to support France policy at international system, maybe at the level of UN, even when that policy is against Africa. That's a big problem for African continent. The coming of Europeans into Africa have also led to millions of brain drain and death through slave trade. Some of our able-bodied, the people that the Europeans perceive that they possess traditional intelligence or native intelligence, were forcefully taken away either as a slave to Europe, either to Britain or France or Portugal, either as a slave or to work in their farm. Those native intelligence will have been used back in Africa to develop our land. So is a lot of problem altogether. I think I want to stop here till the next class, when we shall be discussing the concept of emancipation, how Africa were able to gain their freedom or secure their independence from the SY colonial powers. And you should also know that 1960 is generally considered as an African independence, because this particular period was the year most African nations gained their freedom or independence from their former colonial master. Thank you. All the best.